You're misleading the public. You're lying to people.
We are part of a giant studio set. All the world's a stage, and you're on it.
Jesus Christ, can suck my dick. Suck my dick.
Suck my dick, Earth, with that bullshit.
Man's getting rude. Man's getting rude.
I'm lucky to you, right?
It could be a what's it? It could be an onion ring, a hairless monkey zipping through the vacuum, or a potato rock.
Yeah, if we dumped what we found right now, we would be, it'd be bad. It would be bad.
Can't have it both ways. You can't have a flat earth and things making sense.
Good evening, YouTube, and welcome to another edition of Gem's Flat Earth Sunday Roast. It's show number sweet 16, and we are celebrating with a party of post-pubescent petulant perfection as we pay tribute to Flat Earth's second greatest ever troll, Logan Paul. Excuse me. I am your host, Gem, and on our panel this evening, it's all the cool kids from the Debate Flat Earth and More Discord server. Cat Earth, Kosho, and Quartus. Scott Vince was in there as well, but he hasn't turned up yet because I think he hasn't realised that we've put our clocks forward.
Bloody useless. Useless, Scott. Come on.
I think I told him, actually. I think I said the show might be later for you guys, and it's earlier.
Well, that is pretty confusing, though. You got to admit. I don't see why we don't all. If we're going to change our clocks, why not do it all at the same time, right?
Well, I think they're talking this year about. I think we're getting rid of it. They're talking about.
They always say that.
But yeah, they do say that a lot. Actually, that's true.
Yeah.
Everyone should just follow us. We invented time, didn't we? In Greenwich, East London.
Yes, well,
or
I've
maybe
often
just
said
don't
this.
change the clocks.
Yeah, I think that we should charge a royalty on our time.
I do too. Yeah.
And on our language and on our sports.
Yep. Good.
You know, everyone should pay us a royalty for playing soccer. Americans should all pay us a tax for using the English language.
Yeah.
Even though they have got their own weird version of it.
They can speak Spanish, but
Come on, America's brought y'all some food too. We invented pizza and Chinese food and hot dogs.
Yeah.
There's that.
obesity. Sorry. But they are all good foods, I'm not going to lie.
They are indeed. Let me just, yeah, it looks like we're working. Anyway, so this week, Logan Paul decided to add icing to his cake of flat earth farce by releasing a no-holds-barred making-of video, where he tells us what he really thinks about flat earthers. While the Flat Earth Conference Supremo and confirmed lizard person Robbie Davidson responded to this on ABC's Nightline. All of this, of course, will get our stream terminated for copyright violations, which has never bothered us before.
It'll be fine, Jamie.
We'll tackle those later so we can get a bit of time served before the YouTube police impound the stream. And it seems that Logan Paul is not the only one around here trying to influence our youth. Mark Sargent has been at it too. So there really isn't much more that I need to say here than take a look at this creepy bastard.
But the other thing I thought was even more ironic, which was almost right afterwards, which was how he was going off on a rant on how Flat Earth is so stupid. And again, I can't believe he brought it up. Of all people, he says, and you know, they're teaching this to children. It was like, wow. I mean, you know it's bad when he is actually saying that. So that is the hot button I'm going to continue to press. We're seeing the same message, which is Nat Geo said it, DeFranco said it, the documentary director said it, bigger podcasts have said, well, I mean, he's probably one of the biggest at this point, but they're all saying that same thing. It's like, stay away from the children. It's like, all right, I'm seriously, I am in the process of writing my Senate subcommittee speech rant. I mean, I know down the road, you know, I may be painted as a villain and use my children line, which I'm refining more and more. Plus, I'm in full out war mode Especially with this particular thing, this is more like a paintball gun outfit.
Oh,
But no. I've just done so many interviews recently that I felt that I was just in full out.
What else did I want to ask you about?
Conferences, all the young people I've been talking to recently.
Why don't you tell me about that? Because I've been doing so much talking. People are bored.
Yeah, I've had a whole bunch of people reach out to me from different high schools and universities across the United States and other places. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, because remember, we've been catching some heat from the documentary Behind the Curve because of the 12-year-old. No. And so, like, for example, I'm just looking at my schedule right now. So Friday, I'm meeting with a high school from Seattle. We're actually going out to a restaurant over on the other side of the ferry, and they're going to be shooting stuff as part of some class thing. St. Michael's College, I have no idea where that is. Some kid or group from them I'm going to be talking to during a Skype thing. My old alma mater, South Woodby High School, is going to probably bring me in to speak to a class.
Wow.
How fun is that? Because then I don't think I'm going to do a pep assembly or anything like that, but I'm going to be going and speaking to like an earth science class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. And I'll be
I'm shocked still. And I've said this every time you've mentioned that high schools, that they're trying to get you to make commencement addresses, etc.
Right.
That this is being allowed by school systems.
Right. Well, I mean, it hasn't been approved yet, but there was a teacher that he was the one that suggested it. And I have had parental supervision on several things, which has been nice. But remember, this shouldn't shock anybody because of the U.gov survey, which isn't, and I've said this before on the last thing I did, and maybe the thing before, but I think it bears repeating, which is the U.gov survey. What really struck them was the 18 to 24-year-olds, which was that we had like a third of them, 18 to 24. And that really spooked people. It spooked Nat Geo. It spooked some of the bigger podcasts that have talked about this. But that's not the part that interested me. The part that interested me was the group that they're not even allowed to talk to, which is the 12 to 17-year-olds. We've got a lot of those kids.
Well, you mentioned earlier something like because of the 12-year-old, and I thought you were referring to Summer. What 12-year-old are you referring?
So towards the end of the movie, and this is why, in my opinion, the movie was tweaked the way it was, is that because Daniel, remember you and I were like the only two people that even listened to the director's commentary on iTunes. I don't think anyone else has listened to it but us. And he said at the end, he said, when they got to Raleigh and that 12-year-old kid walked up to the microphone and started asking me questions, and I asked him how old he was, and they heard it, that's when the whole thing changed for them. That's when the tone of Flat Earth changed, and they felt a responsibility for the children. And it's like, and if he was alone in saying that, I would have been right there. But that's what Nat Geo said behind the scenes, and that's what some of the bigger podcasts also said. And I've gotten emails to that effect saying I got really upset when you were talking to a 12-year-old kid about Flat Earth. And we don't do a recruiting program. As you know, Flat Earth doesn't care about race or gender or religious preference, and we certainly don't care about age. It's fun for the whole family, ages 8 to 80. We don't care, but we also don't go out of our way. We don't have a special children's program, as far as I know. Wink, wink. That goes after kids. We're not developing a Joe Camel type program to suck in kids.
Candy in cars with strangers.
It's an interesting story. We all know this. Flat Earth is an interesting story, and you don't have to be older to understand it. Kids understand it. Flat Earth is a very, very easy concept. And so when people say, I'm offended that you're talking like there should be a minimum age to get into Flat Earth, like what, you're going to start registering Flat Earth like firearms? Come on, get real. This is Flat Earth has already got the line I'm going to use. And here's the soundbite. I'm going to use this in front of the Senate if I ever get that far, which is you don't have to worry about the children because it's too late. We already have them.
I've got a hate mail because of vaccines, and I got one hate mail because of Sandy Hook. Basically, a how dare you? I didn't respond.
I'll settle this right now for any skeptics out there who are just horrified, saying how dare you, blah blah. They're about ready to write me an email right now, which is okay. Here's my challenge that I put out there. It's going to go down the same way as the space. I'm eventually just going to have to buy my own spacesuit. I don't know how that's going to work. The challenge goes like this: I will pay $1,000, PayPal to your account, $1,000, if you can show me a 10-second video, and I just use 10 seconds as a round number, of any child being carried out of that school. Video. Note I said video. I'm going to say it one more time so I can say it 3 times. Video. Not those 3 still shots that were taken by this mystery photographer where all the kids that are touching their backs walking out where there is no law enforcement around them. Those kids.
Just a drill for the kids, probably a photo op drill.
Okay. Okay, so here's my challenge to anybody. I'll give you $5,000 if you record Mark Sargent watching this video and get his sick reaction of this sick request he's trying to make, 'cause that's disgusting.
It really is, isn't it? And I tagged that bit on the end because it was part of the same show that he and Patty were in, where he's talking about all this contact with children, and you have to ask yourself: is a person who's able to discuss the lives of slaughtered children in this flippant manner, is he a suitable person to be anywhere near anybody's children? I mean,
no, I think this should be used as evidence to have him sterilized. To be honest with you.
I mean, it's just vile, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, it is.
I'm convinced he's been invited to schools just to make him go to school again. So he can listen, learn a bit off the kids.
Well, I mean, he did say an earth science class, didn't he? So, maybe this will be one of the first times he's been genuinely challenged on some of his crap. Maybe kids will ask him questions, and it'll be interesting to see. Well, I don't suppose we'll get to see, but it would be interesting to see how he answered them.
Probably run away and call them all trannies or something. Sorry, Kaisha.
No, I'm sorry. I know. I just said something. I just wanted to say I sat in on with Citizen Z's server last night, and it just was reminiscent of a lot of the times when I sat in on 24/7's server, and what you actually end up hearing from new people are the exact same questions over and over again. So I don't imagine that he's going to get any question he hasn't heard before from these students.
Probably, yeah. I think the stream seems to be dying. Apologies if we are being lost to our audience. But,
what's happening?
Can't seem to refresh it here.
That looks like it might be back at. Oh no, it's buffering very heavily.
It's not. It just stopped buffering for me. I think it's back.
Yeah,
I killed it. I'm sorry.
So anyway, I just sorry, I'm very distracted by. I think we actually lost the stream. Video output low.
Buffering again.
YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming.
Your ISP, maybe.
Can we also bring light to how creepy that line was about we already have the children or something?
Yeah, of course.
We already have them. When I get in front of the Senate, I'm going to tell them we already have your children.
I mean, that's something I really wanted to ask Scott about.
Lock him up.
What do you think he's doing for a Senate subcommittee?
Absolutely nothing.
That's not the committee he's going to be put in front of.
I mean, I imagine that this is going to be it's going to be a thing like the spacesuit, I think he's engineering another tool that he can say, oh, well, I've asked for this and they ignored it, or, you know what I mean? I think it's going to be something along those lines, is what I'm expecting.
Well,
yeah,
sorry, Coach, go. I keep talking over you.
I've said this before. No, I'm sorry, Ken. I got to turn you up. I was just going to say, I've said this before, and I kind of stand by it, although I don't think that maybe he's the best avenue for this. I do think that this whole thing, the flat Earth concept, can be used in teaching. Because I think, like I said, when he's asking these kids those questions, what it ends up doing if it's done appropriately, right? Not in a way that's pushed towards the flat Earth, but in a way where you have a flat earther asking them questions that maybe they haven't heard and challenging them in ways they haven't thought about. It engages them, and it makes it so you have to actually understand and learn how it is we know these things and how it is
this is an educational technique that goes back quite a long distance, where they'll introduce a notion which is counter to reason and have the kids ferret out why. And flat earth is a commonly used
I think it's big enough, isn't it? It's big. It's got enough attention. There's enough. I mean, Mark did make the point. There is that survey that was quite worrying. That it was, said that at a certain age range, 20. I
don't think anybody was worried by a self-selected survey of shit posters. Yeah. But when I say it's been used in the educational system, it has been as a kind of a foil, and this goes back decades. It has nothing to do with the current kerfuffle about flat Earth.
Right. Lewis, he told me once about an exercise they did at their school. I think that lasted at least a week, I think he said. Where his science teacher or geography teacher had presented, had said to him, the Earth's flat. Now show me that it's not, sort of thing.
Yeah, change my mind. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So I think that's it. And I guess if it's a trending thing, schools and teachers do like to try and do stuff that's on trend that kids might be, respond to and be interested in. So, and probably he's probably sick of being asked dumb questions about it. Probably kids are coming in with stuff, and he's probably sick to death of it.
I'm just thinking if schools do use that as a teaching method, they're going to be insufferable with all the
kids are asking to hear more about this. Well, let's bring somebody in. Why not?
Yeah, Mark Sargent's desperate enough. He'll probably just come. That's happening.
Mm-hmm. Right, we'll do the next clip. I'm soldering on. Stream it came back a bit then, and now it looks like it's going again. But anyway, Ranty did an experiment this week with some others where they hired a boat for £250 and tried to film it. So let's have a look and see what Ranty says. If we lose the stream, I apologise.
Stream? What is going on here?
No, I don't. Stream complete. We've ended.
Do you know what? I think you're better off restarting, honestly, because it might be just
coming
weird.
Back up.
It's running okay for me.
It actually stopped then, and now it's just come back in.
Everyone's moaning. I'm thinking you should just quickly restart it, just to see if it helps.
I could try. Let me just bear with me, please, ladies and gentlemen.
I won't even be able to watch the clip.
Let me see if I can. If I reduce the output from.
No, I reckon you should just cut it, bring it back.
Give it a try.
Video bit rate.
You'll keep this all. It'll stay in.
Let's put this down to 1,000. Let's see what happens.
Go up and down once, but
I've hit start again, so
I think it's running. Running.
It's looking good now. All right, so let's have a bit of ranting. Volume's down.
But it really wasn't, because these guys were saying, look, we're heading to the wind turbines, and they were. Whereas I was looking at them thinking they'd already got to the wind turbines. Just perspective. It's like perspective really screws up when you've got two different directions, essentially. They're going in one direction, I'm filming it from a different. And we got a little confused at the start, and it led to one thing led to another. And eventually I ended up losing them. It took a long time to find these guys in the end, but we did.
Something that I've would also like to talk about is the perspective from the boat. So we had Reed Earther on the boat, and obviously he's trying to film back with the P1000, and because of the chop of the boat, it was really difficult to actually focus on anything at land. So, he could see the buildings, then he couldn't see the buildings. It was up, down, shaking around all the time. So it was really difficult for the person from the boat. And I didn't think of that.
Ranty, you said you had an IR camera?
Yeah. Somebody loaned me an IR camera.
So
yeah.
Did that produce better results?
No, we didn't get to use it. By the time we found these guys, and we were pretty sure that we had these guys on camera, the captain had to leave. He literally said, look, I have to go back. So the time that we'd wasted trying to find these guys, which was essentially over an hour, right? Literally over an hour, because what was happening was they were bobbing around behind a bunch of wind turbines, right? Come on, guys, look at Panda Boat on the right bottom. That's how the camera captured Panda Boat, and all the other images around it are what Panda Boat normally looks like from a side-on view. And you can see the squishing. You know, this is proper squishing, Red's Rhetoric. It's not squishing from side to side. This is non-linear compression downwards. You can't fake curvature by squishing an image through barrel distortion from left to right. But this is what the camera does when you're looking at stuff out to sea, when there's no inferior mirage. And when I've put the same boat to the left-hand side and lined it up, you can see how much is missing or how much squished it is. And funnily enough, the curvature calcs are pretty much where that red line runs through. So where that red line runs through on the left-hand image, if you look at that image and you imagine that is where the curve calcs would be, essentially that's true. That's exactly
it's almost uncanny with these curve calculators, isn't it? It's almost as if they were sort of reverse engineered. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think I used that phrase about a year ago on Globebusters. I said that it seems to me like they've reverse engineered optics, and essentially when you're looking at this compression, you could basically take compression and say, well, compression, what's the rate of compression? Well, 8 inch per mile squared is about correct. And then
okay, so let me just ask, if that boat were to move away from us, what do we suppose is happening?
Well, I do actually have another image of that I'm going to get to in a minute.
Okay.
And what's really interesting on this particular other image, I mean, these are just the stills of the same boat that I used. So here we have an image of that same boat, and it's turned around and it's going back from left to right now. But have you noticed, can you see you've got the blue line here just above the water, and then you've got this white trail that follows the boat. And what's really interesting and important about this is in the video, you see this wake behind it. You see the wake of the boat. So as the boat's moving, you're seeing the waves behind the boat, even though you aren't seeing the hull of the boat. So can you see how most of the blue's gone on this boat?
Repeat that. You're seeing the waves. Say that again so it's clear.
Right. So we're seeing the boat. We're seeing all of the boat, even though we're not seeing the blue at the back end of the boat. We're seeing the blue at the front end of the boat. And at the back of the boat, the blue is just a sliver. It's not as crisp as this image. So on this image where you've got a nice thicker part here that's easily seen, in this particular case, it's almost gone completely. And this white that's here is the churned up water as the boat's moving through the water. So you're actually seeing the splash from the propellers. So you're actually seeing down to the bottom of the hull, even though you can't see it. And it's all compressed in this particular very, very narrow sliver here.
Right. Okay, please. Why do people still talk to Ranty? Honestly, what is the point?
I love this though. It's uncanny how well the curve calculator describes.
Oh, it's uncanny. Yeah, it's uncanny.
It's amazing. It's almost as though like you can feel they're just on the edge of a conceptual breakthrough.
Funny enough, that's just where the curve calculator should be.
I know. I mean,
that's amazing.
But the really crazy thing is, Ranty is proclaiming this is the result of compression and that comports with the curve calculator, while Riley is proclaiming that his angle of attack comports with the curve calculator. So it's all rather convenient for them, I feel.
They've both invented new principles of optics that don't exist that somehow match the curve calculation.
Yeah, what's that idea of natural compression? Like it's like it's not even a function, it's just a natural thing that happens.
He's saying the thing you don't see is because of some principle that he's come up with out of his ass.
It's the splashing waves quarters. You see it. It's just there, the white bit splashing.
I mean, he's called it Panda Boat. It's fucking blue and white.
Yeah.
For a start, it's bright blue.
Bright blue panda. What's your problem?
So I don't know, but it just seems that I think we seem to have moved on, at least in the time that I've been in Flat Earth, where the idea used to be to capture something on the horizon that was unobstructed, that we shouldn't see. And nowadays, the idea seems to be to go and capture something that's obstructed and then claim the obstruction is something else. It's just, every time Ranty goes out, he comes back with recordings of obstruction every time and says 100% proof of a flat Earth globe killer.
Well, I said this in the chat. He's got better content than Soundly, if we're honest. He's got more varied, more shots. It's insane. That whole picture he's put together is like something what a baller would do, like with the boat there superimposed. Like, oh my lord! I don't know how you can stare at that and not, come to the conclusion.
I think Chemo asks the best question sometimes, because it's almost like if I were on, the FE side, I would almost think he was like, I would be suspicious of him being like a double agent or something like that, because he asks questions.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
He asks questions, especially with that 15 degree per hour thing a couple weeks ago on Nathan's show. He was doing the same thing where he was asking honest questions, like questions, like almost like he's like looking at it. He's like, wait a minute, how can you explain this away? You know what I mean? Like he's asking him like, what would happen if the ship were to go further?
Yeah, but Kosho, he thinks they can explain it away. That's why he asks them.
Well,
no,
I don't know.
I don't think so. Like, I think if you talk to Chemo, he'll annoy you because he'll annoy you. And then when you listen to him talk to Flat Earthers, he annoys them because he just seems to troll everyone. He just seems to troll everyone.
Yeah. He does have a talent for annoying.
And I thought, it's funny though, when Kosho said that, I mean, I thought exactly the same. When he asked that question, I thought, that's what I would have asked, Well, what about when it's further away then?
Non-conformist answer, like he thinks they're going to produce this answer.
I don't know. I often hear Chemo doing that, and I do wonder about his motivation some of the time when he does it. Of course, I mean, a good reason might be that he knows that he's going to come and talk to us lot. And that's what we're going to say, and he wants to have an answer for when we say it.
Right. He expects them to be able to give him that answer in advance. Yeah. So.
Well,
but this whole here it is. I filmed the obstruction again, and it's astonishing them. It's standing there. They're standing there astonished that it comports with the model of the globe. It's like, wow, I can't believe it. It's like they must be like psychic or something. How do they do it?
They reversed engineered it, Quartus.
Yeah, it's just really. They seem actually surprised by this.
Well, Ranty was surprised that the boat was going up and down.
Yeah.
That was one of his cock-ups, that he didn't anticipate that the boat would be moving up and down, and it would be hard to take photos from. So.
But to a bigger point to Ranty, I don't really dislike Ranty. He's having a whale of a time. I don't mean being. He was a bit simple, and he's getting all this love. He's got free camera.
True.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, big up to him. Like, it's just crazy. But he can say mean things, but I don't think he's a mean-spirited guy, honestly. And I don't think.
No,
I think he genuinely
I don't think he
caught
is.
up in it all.
But he is bullshitting people. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I think he's bullshitting himself way more. So you
probably true.
It does seem genuine, doesn't it? This whole business of look at that, it almost as though the Earth is curved, but it does seem like a genuine sentiment.
Oh, I do. I follow Ranty a lot. He's one of the few I'm still sub to, and he's like, "Oh, I'm here in Scotland. Oh, I'm having this. I'm doing that." And he's just, he's in the community. He's a community.
He is. He's making a bit of a name for himself now because he's one of the few people that's actually doing any of this sort of thing. There aren't very few people doing it now, isn't there? So
He's got as far as proving the globe at this point with the curve.
He was a bit late to the party, of course, but you know, he got there in the end, I guess, and yeah, very few of them. I should welcome Scott as well. Welcome, Scott. Sorry, we got our times mixed up.
No problem. I don't know if my mic is working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
You're coming
Okay.
through now. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Cool.
Anyway, let's get down to the meat of the business, shall we? Who's next?
Oh, yeah.
It's Logan Paul.
Here we go.
So
copyright strike.
So I should say, yeah, I should apologise to our audience as well for the quality of the stream. I'm sorry it went down. It's yellow at the moment, and it seems steady on yellow. So hopefully that's not too bad for you all. Actually, I'm going to run through the chat, guys, as well. So if you'll excuse me,
I'd just like to say, don't apologise to the chat if they've got Walmart internet. Yeah, like it's not. It's not
Please don't say yellow stream to an audience of flat earthers. Just not a good idea.
Right, so I better get on the right page to speak to people, hadn't I? Where's it gone? Oh, here it is. Good.
Not a good idea.
Hang on, let me just run down the chat then. This is probably going to mess my computer up. So, hello to Shane Cockgobbler, John Watson.
Hi, Shane Cockgobbler.
Cigarwin, Dan W. Scott Veach was in the chat at the beginning. Why weren't you in the hangout, Scott? Gatekeeping teleprompter, good evening to you. Skywatcher, hello. Laurie Gale, good to see you. Zep Teppy, hello to you. Flashburn52, of course. King of the memes is with us. Good evening. Twit, wish you were here. John Watson, did I do him already? Wolfgang Pauly, hello to you. Al K, good evening. Jamie H, good evening to you. Normal Gamer, hello to you. Lenny Harry, hi. Rob Vanderkick, hello to you. Kiok, sorry. Not Flat, good evening. Rock Lover, hi to you, Rock Lover, good to see you. Mark Taylor, good to see you, mate. Let's have a chat later. Wolfgang Pauly, hello to you. Yeti, good evening. Captain Bullshit, good to see you, mate. Monkey Sage, good evening. Dumpster Fire, hello to you. Merle Beauregard, hi Merle, good to see you. Who else have we got? Running through the list as quick as I can. I did Twit.
I think you forgot Shane Cockgobbler.
Hi again, Shane Cockgobbler. And Jim R, good evening to you. I think I got everyone. If I didn't, oh, Charlie, hi to Charlie. Speak now, say your name quickly or something in the chat so I can spot it and say hello, or forever hold your peace.
I think you actually got everyone.
The quality of the stream looks absolutely garbage.
No, that's your terrible internet, Gem.
Yeah, shall I try putting this back to what it was, do you think? Or
coming through okay.
It looks fine, honestly.
All right, I'll do nothing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, let's have a look at Logan Paul's making of video. Here's some excerpts.
And shout out Globe, Earth, Perth. Sorry.
Looks like I didn't have this queued up very well.
We wanted to make this video as sort of a tell-all about how we infiltrated the flat Earth community.
What a weird place.
Pretty devious way. I gotta say, the flat Earth community is not happy. We infiltrated the flat Earth community to the core and honestly fucking trolled the entire internet. The backlash I thought I was gonna get was the media coming out and saying Logan Paul is perpetuating ignorance by even spreading this fable that the Earth is indeed shaped like a pancake floating through space. Thank God that did not happen. The backlash that we are getting, you tricked the flat earthers, you know, you lied to their face. Why did you do that? How do you feel about that? Like, the doc was awesome, but you high-key lied, used and took advantage of those people, and they genuinely trusted you. Love the doc, though. Thanks, dude. My logic was this. If they're willing to lie to themselves and lie to the world, try and perpetuate this movement of idiocracy, I was willing to lie to them about something that I really, really don't believe in. Like, here's me coming clean. I really really dislike this movement. Not to toot my own horn, you guys may know I got a full academic ride to college for engineering. I got a 5 on my AP physics test. Science, biology, facts, I guess you could say, is kind of my thing. And math too. Like I was a geek in high school, but I promised myself that I was gonna go to the conference with an open mind. As much as, and you too, remember when I told you that you were gonna become a flat earther? You were like, no!
I was worried. None of these people were like mean in any way. Like they never at any point were like rude to us. They were all really nice people. And to be honest with you, like coming out of it, I've made a couple comments too that like I actually did. There were times where I actually started to feel kind of bad about the situation. There's just like a part of me that like just didn't feel great about it. But at the same time, like they are like perpetuating a lie to like not only other people but also like kids.
I can't fully wrap my head around it, and I was willing to stand behind my actions for the satire that we created to hopefully spread the truth about how like honestly really fucking stupid this movement is. And to be honest, I don't even want to call it a movement. I don't think it's a movement. I think it's a group of like-minded people who simply refuse education and refuse to believe the truth. The Flat Earth Gathering is a thing because a lot of the stuff they say like does make sense, because what they do is they cherry pick, they work backwards, not trying to prove that the earth is flat, instead trying to disprove that the earth is round. And they cherry pick the facts that they want you to see to get to point B while skipping point A.
They are so tied into this belief that the earth is flat. No one in this massive group is willing to actually go prove it, right? Like they're like, oh, we can't go to Antarctica because there's this rogue NASA force that will stop us at the border, so we can't go there to prove that there's this ice shelf. But if you've devoted your, like this Robbie Davidson has devoted his entire life to it,
like go
there.
Someone do
go
someone
there with a camera,
be the patriot
with a hidden camera and show us that you've been stopped by this rogue force of government, you know, that won't let you pass.
Here's why it gets tricky. Like these flat earth believers, it's bigger than just them believing in the flat earth. They don't believe in anything. They question everything.
But this is the first movie, all scripted, all acted from start to finish. The entire thing was a comedy.
That's what I'm saying. That's proof. We wrote him in. He's our protagonist. The way it works is there's a few of them can speak well and articulate and do have like a really high functioning level of intelligence, and they're the ones that are the speakers. For example, this guy Rick Hummer, he was the master of ceremonies. He introduced all the guests and sort of ran the show. The dude, like many of the flat earthers, is just out of touch. We were in the parking lot talking with Robbie and Rick, and the dude throws out
and he's such a bag because he went from the Cubs to the Reds like that.
So I'm gonna reiterate, the dude said a no-no. When I heard it, I was like, whoa. And I'm like, you don't see the cameras in your face? You can't really, the dude's not gonna get canceled. The flat earthers don't care. I don't know what I'm saying.
What percentage?
This wasn't like a hit piece per se. I just wanted to show how ridiculous all of this was. Quite honestly, just crafting a story around them. They did the work for us, and that's why it worked so well. Why do you think flat earthers are flat earthers? And is there going back? Say they changed their mind.
From a flat earther back to a round earther?
Say they changed
I'm sure. Like they're just like a movement of people that do what they do to kind of like feel like they belong to something, like a club, you know?
That was the conclusion I reached.
Yeah, like just like anything like that, anti-vaxxers, like there's just a whole bunch of different movements of people that I feel like they are able to like come together. It's almost like not in the same, vein obviously, but like a comic book club, Dungeons and Dragons, like people coming together. Obviously this is much different than those, but for some common purpose. And like they've been probably cast out by reality, social anxieties they have, or like social like the ineptness they have, and they come together and they feel like they belong to something together.
More so if they were to leave, like if Robbie Davidson all of a sudden, if the earth was proven for the millionth time tomorrow to like be round, Robbie Davidson is no longer the CEO of this non-existent movement. Like what does he do? What do all the speakers do? What do they all do? At this point, they're locked in. Like, stick with your guns, roll with it. You're making money selling $200 tickets, by the way, to a Flat Earth conference. Like, go for it. I read this quote today. Actually, I have this book upstairs. I'm reading this book. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this was crazy. I came across this today on the plane. Some authorities declare that people may actually go insane in order to find, in the dreamland of insanity, the feeling of importance that has been denied them in the harsh world of reality. How fucking pertinent is that? They think this thing, people call them crazy, and the only safe spot is around the other crazy people. I don't hate the people, I hate the movement. It's almost even dumb to talk about it. Like NASA astronauts will not give this conversation the time of day. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he hates it. There's no point talking about it.
Well, there's also that theory called Occam's razor, which is the simplest explanation tends to be the right one. The flat earthers will use that in their defense, and they'll be like, if they brought proof of any of the stuff that they claim to know, like I feel like there's been enough proof to show that the fucking earth is round.
One last thing. I don't want you guys to bully the flat earthers, and I mean that. Like, you don't have to agree with their movement. I guess make fun of it if you feel like, because it is, like, quite honestly fucking stupid. But don't bully the people.
And once again, to the flat earth people, to the flat earth community, to Robbie, get some proof for me, dude. Like, go show me something. Show us something. Go to Antarctica next. Don't have the 2019 conference. Take your whole group of people and go to Antarctica and find this ice shelf that you tell everyone exists, or find a way to show us that the moon is its own light. Give us something to chew on. Because as of right now, you've got absolutely nothing except for a group of people that everyone doesn't believe. Like, I don't know how else to put it.
It's the blind leading the blind. Really he's not gonna go back. You know how much money he made off that conference? You know how much our tickets were? I think they were like $200 to $500. And there's 7 of us, bro. And the conference had like 1,000 people there. He's making a lot of money. It's a cult. So what I'm saying is, again, back to the bullying thing, don't bully them. Let them go play in Fantasyland. Continue living your life, studying, staying at school,
or not,
and getting educated.
And something tells me we're probably going to be talking about Flat Earth more.
Robbie's going on Dateline NBC
to talk about this. Robbie Davidson's going to go on national television with some sort of offensive against
I want to give a message to Robbie. Hey, you listening, guy? Robbie, I fucking got you, bro. I don't know. I'm just kidding. And
well, he's definitely a lot smarter. A lot of people saying in the chat than we all took him for.
Yeah, I think so too.
But does that make him more of a scumbag or less? Because I don't know. He's still, because when he's saying, "Oh, they're doing this and that," he's still the guy who filmed a dead guy, like for YouTube. And he's not as dumb as he was making out, in my opinion. But yeah,
maybe he was younger and dumber. I didn't want to. I saw this and I heard the reactions, a couple days ago about this, and I didn't want to like him, but everything him and his buddy were saying were spot on. Oh, yeah. And yeah, I mean he's 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what I felt, and that's really why I felt it's really worth including, because I just thought that they, really, really did have a handle on it all. Yep. They had reasons why people believe it. They weren't just painting them as quaint eccentrics. They see a serious angle in it, in that it's influencing children. And I just thought that they really, really had it sussed. And Logan Paul, I think, seems so media savvy. I thought it was very interesting, the comment that he made about Hummer, and he said they're so out of touch, and it's a no-no because he said the word fag, which I think,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's going on about someone saying fag, and he's filmed a dead guy for a load of publicity. Right. He's smart. He's not as dumb as he was making out, which you could kind of forgive him before.
Yeah, I'm not evaluating this in context of anything else he's done, just by itself. So yeah, I don't need to keep going back to the previous thing he did to take a look at this. But
well, the thing is I agree with what he's saying, but I do think it's obvious that it's justification after the fact, because they're saying they feel a bit guilty, right, in the first place. They didn't go out to expose a cult or something like that. They went out to just troll. And they felt a little bit bad, but then you think, well, they're doing this and that. It's more of a after justification.
I don't know. I mean, I think Logan Paul makes it clear that what he's trolling is the idea. The people themselves he considers to be deluded victims of this thing. So is the idea ridiculous? Yeah. And he maintained that all the way through. He said, by all means, ridicule the idea, which is, I think, important. It's an important distinction.
No, he definitely said that, but it's more after the fact, I think. I mean, they trolled the people a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, they say they don't, but then they're banging on. They're showing a clip about the guy saying a fag or whatever, which I think is a little bit disingenuous, if I'm honest.
I don't think it necessarily is. I think that he's just talking about the hypocrisy of someone who claims to be a holy roller who's quite happy to, say something which isn't perhaps, is somewhat hypocritical, maybe. I think that's the kind of
I know. I get it. I get it.
I think they just live in two different worlds. Like what he said after that was, oh, he's not going to lose his sponsors or anything like that, and that's because that's exactly how he would. That's how he conducts himself, basically.
He knows that if he were to utter the word fag when there's a camera anywhere near him, he would get cancelled, as he put it.
And even I don't have anything against gay people. My brother's gay, and I don't approve of that kind of like gay bashing. But if you look at also the context and what he was saying, he wasn't talking about like gay people. He was using that word.
Right. He's calling him
like
a fag.
to a baseball player.
Yeah.
When you're young, you're gay.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like there's a South Park episode, isn't there, that addresses this, that, where they're using the word gay and then they're sort of called homophobic, and they're like, well, hold on, you lot co-opted the word. It was, it doesn't necessarily have to refer to homosexual people. 30 years ago, it didn't. Do you know what I mean? It's only that's only a recent idea. So if we want gay to mean, just generally crap, which is how it was used in South Park and how kids often use it, that's gay. They just mean it's crap, and it can mean that too if we want it to, It doesn't.
Well, that's true. That's true of fag too. Calling somebody a fag doesn't mean anything about his sexual orientation at all.
Right.
It can be completely independent of that. So, but I think what Logan Paul was talking about was Davidson's sort of lack of self-awareness, and he knew the cameras were on him, and he still said something he really shouldn't be saying in front of the camera. And I think that goes to his general lack of self-awareness. Like he was gullible enough to be taken in by this really flimsy ruse as well.
Right. But they're flat earthers. So at the same time,
but he's pointing that out. He's pointing out that maybe they're not operating with a full deck.
But Sargent wasn't taken in by it for a moment, was he? He was on the first plane home as soon as he found out that Logan Paul was going to be there, because he knew. I think that. Because I think he's a lot more social media savvy. He's more like Logan Paul in that sense. He's a bit more clued up on.
He's a gamer, isn't he? And poor Robbie, he doesn't have a clue, does he?
Well,
he's just a
mom, when you hear Sargent talk, that he's always talking about the amount of views they've got and the amount of videos there are. And, he's all about the analytics all the time. So that's kind of his thing. That sort of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's probably how he is. I'm sorry, Kosho. Again, sorry.
No, I wanted to make sure that I got this in before we went to the next point. But please. Don't let me talk over you.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm talking bollocks. Go.
Okay, well, I was gonna ask this before the show, and then I thought I'd bring it up. During this when we watched this scene, I was kind of curious, and I was meant to ask this last week as well. Is I wonder if you guys think, if you guys can come up with the motivation for Logan Paul to have been involved in this at all, or make this video, or do you think that this is something that he was personally motivated to do, or do you think maybe one of his
I think
sponsors,
he just watches
whether it's YouTube or whatever?
I think it just got to the point where it was he's a content creator, so he's got to plan these things, and it's just
Well, I think one of the things that is difficult for us to assess as people who are sort of in this is how much of it, how obvious it is to people who aren't in this. Do you understand what I mean? So I think that just as him being a YouTuber, if he's seeing it come up over and over again, then it becomes something that's sort of trending and something that's that he feels the need to make a comment on.
Well,
sure.
I mean, has he made any other movies like this? I don't know. Watch his channel.
There's some other stuff like this that's similar. Honestly, I'm sure the way this happened was they're sitting around and Logan's like, "Dude, I should totally come out as a flat earther. That would be crazy."
Yeah.
Right.
Lose.
Yeah.
And the more they talked about it, the more it turned into a full-on idea like this.
Right.
Because he even said, didn't he? He's like, when he told me I had to be a flat earther, I was like, no.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how they'd fleshed it out. Do you know what I mean? He'd been thinking about it, and I mean that is his job. He has to come up with funny content, and he has to, you know. So I just think that's all it is. It's content, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so too.
It was also good how they'd got Robbie's reaction on there. They talked about how they enjoyed watching Robbie's reaction. They also said something about how they were sort of talking about how when they went to the conference and they felt the need to change hotels because they just didn't like this sort of living a lie in this hotel surrounded by flat earthers. And sorry, totally forgotten the point I was going to make there.
Well, I don't blame him for not, because he was obviously quite vitriolic, shall we say, about Robbie, and I don't blame him because Robbie, to me, and I don't know him obviously, but he does seem like.
Yeah, well, that was it. They changed hotels, and then they watched a hangout that Mark Sargent was on. They didn't say that they watched this hangout, but they said something about how Mark Sargent had left, and they said something else that they could only have known if they'd watched this hangout. So it sort of gave me the idea that they're keeping quite a close eye on what's happening. You know, they're aware that the flat Earth community isn't happy and this sort of thing. You know. So.
Well, they're YouTubers as well, so they know how to look for things.
Right.
Well, he's probably getting lots of hate mail from flat earthers too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, probably true. Yeah, probably.
No, well, also because you got to remember he's got so many subs, he's going to get inundated if anyone mentions his name anywhere or something like that. Someone will be seeing it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, big up to him anyway. That was I thought it was all very interesting. That's one of my favourite things out of Flat Earth was honestly his video. As much as I don't really like the guy, but
look, I'd be afraid of pissing off Robbie Davidson. He could fly to your house and drain your blood in the night. So, frankly, it doesn't look like he's fed lately.
He is a scary-looking guy, isn't he?
It's fucking terrifying.
Well, he's always looked like that. I think he's looked worse in the past. To me, he looks better because he seems like he's got a bit of money now from all this crap.
Yeah,
I followed him for a long time ago. So I don't know. He's always been.
I forget who it was who said this. I think it was Zinderich, but he said that he could play the devil in like a movie or something like that.
Yeah,
he kind of really could.
Well, he just looks like the master vampire that's been laying in his native soil for 40 years and hasn't fed or something.
Right.
Okay.
Well, random comment. I got banned off Celebrate Truth when I was a flat earther for writing scripture in his Bible Christian channel, and he banned me because it disagreed with him. And I was like, oh, that was when I was coming out of it. I was like, this guy's a twat. Because it was funny. It was one of those things like you meet some of the people you've watched their videos and you interact with them, not meet them, you interact with them, and you're like, wow, he's really a bit of a dickhead and a bit petty. Sorry, it shouldn't be that mean, but yeah. I don't like Robbie. Honestly, I really don't like Robbie.
Yeah, don't be mean on the roast show. That's just the wrong.
Sorry. No, I'm just saying I shouldn't be too harsh on it. But I just think he is really not in it. Like from interactions I had with him a few years ago, just minor ones. But I got the impression he's really, he's just in it to make money, and
he's in it to push enclosed creationism, which is his offshoot of creationism that involves the Earth being flat. He actually calls it enclosed creationism, and it's what he's trying to grow. So.
Yeah, he definitely talks a lot.
Well, we can have a look at him on, I think I called it ABC's Nightline, but they just called it something else. What's it called?
I didn't notice.
I don't know. Anyway, playing this...
Dateline NBC, I think.
Yeah.
It was Dateline.
We'll find out in a moment because it's written in the corner of the screen. This may get our stream taken down for a copyright violation. It will come back up as soon as we stop playing it. So if that happens, I'll just stop. Just hang on, audience, for a couple of minutes. We'll come back, and I can link you to the clip elsewhere. You can all go and watch it, and we'll have a chat about it.
Sorry, Jim. You have a very patient audience. We must say.
I know. Well, they've been very good tonight because it's been up and down like a horse knickers. So it's not good. So anyway, let's have a look at what these guys had to say.
My name is Logan Paul, and I think I'm coming out of the Flat Earth closet.
Yes, you heard that right. Controversial YouTube star Logan Paul laying it down in the trailer for his film about the Flat Earth movement.
Do you think the Earth is flat?
The Earth
Earth is flat. Believe the Earth is flat. The Earth is flat.
Internet headlines declaring YouTube's baddest bad boy had finally lost it. But it was all a prank.
Well, now that it's all over, do you think the Earth is flat?
No, I don't think the Earth is flat. I think that's the dumbest shit I've heard in my life.
It turns out Paul's YouTube movie, Flat Earth to the Edge and Back, is a mockumentary, a flip satire following Paul and his team to a Flat Earth conference where he pretends to embrace the idea that the world is not round.
Logan, Paul.
Several hundred attended the conference, some thinking Paul was sympathetic, but now some saying Paul's trick is not funny.
I was deceived, I was lied to. I honestly really did believe he was genuine.
Okay, now let's get one thing straight. The Earth is round. You know it, I know it, Logan Paul knows it. But his latest stunt highlights the gray area between free speech and the power of online platforms to spread misinformation, conspiracy theories, and outright lies.
Explain to me what kind of space YouTube is for mistruths.
It's ground zero. Unfortunately, step one is we have to rely on people to be independently smart enough to say this seems ridiculous and to seek out information from sources that are verifiable and trustworthy.
Logan Paul's Flat Earth mockumentary now has more than 3.5 million views.
The truth sets you free. Who is Logan Paul?
Logan Paul had a startling rise from Viner to YouTuber and has become an internationally known celebrity. He does a lot of pranks, raucous behavior. Your teenager likely knows who Logan Paul is.
This mockumentary is not the first time he's courted controversy.
His most infamous act was vlogging a dead body he found hanging in the so-called suicide forest in Japan.
Paul apologized, saying he had intended for that video to raise awareness for suicide and suicide prevention.
Is he more famous or more shameless?
He's certainly shameless. Absolutely.
Love him or hate him, Paul's influence is massive. Nearly 19 million subscribers to his YouTube channel. He's rumored to have raked in almost $15 million last year from videos, brand deals, and merchandise. So when Robbie Davidson, founder of the Flat Earth International Conference, saw Paul's name on the registration list for the 2018 event, he did a double take.
I noticed the name and I said, Logan Paul, I know that name.
Davidson says Paul's assistant told him that Paul was curious about the Flat Earth movement after a friend allegedly told him he was a believer. Davidson says Paul sounded genuine.
Now, there were red flags that went up with other people, but I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
On the conference's second day, Davidson says Paul asked to say a few words to the crowd.
He still wasn't coming out as a bona fide flat earther, but he was saying it's interesting and it was resonating with him.
I was there, and I heard that talk where he seemed to indicate he was a flat earther.
My name is Logan Paul, and I think I'm coming out of the flat earth closet.
Some people were really enthusiastic that they had a pretty big name person in the scene now with them, but some other people thought that he was just there for a hoax.
Fast forward a few months, the film drops and the parody is laid bare.
I felt sick to my stomach. I actually had the view that it might be neutral. I never ever thought that it would be a positive piece. I thought that he had humor in it, but I thought he would get people kind of just questioning things. It's okay, let's have this dialogue. But again, it was a mockery from start to finish.
Did he go too far, or is it just him being him?
And this was definitely more nuanced humor, but also certainly cruel.
What I thought would have been better if he could have done it was to examine YouTube's role in pushing the flat earth theory, because it's so complicit in that. And I thought to have a YouTuber really address his own medium and how it shapes flat earth would have been fantastic, but that's not the documentary we got.
Logan Paul did not respond to Nightline's request for comment.
Do you think online platforms have a responsibility to make clear the distinction between fact and fiction?
Absolutely. It's something that we're seeing a lot of platforms really putting muscle behind now in 2019, but unfortunately, it's a little too late. These things have spread